Ladies and gentlemen, I rise tonight to fulfill a DY tradition. I rise to recognize the members of the class of 2018 who have enlisted in the Armed Forces of the United States. We recognize them tonight because once they leave, they will be out of sight, and we cannot allow them to be out of mind. A short story that inspired tonight's remarks. On December 22nd, 2 years ago, Assistant Superintendent Jenks and I had the opportunity to travel to Groton, Connecticut to attend the christening ceremony of the USS Colorado. My son Ben, a member of the DY class of 2012, is an engineer at Electric Boat where the Virginia-class attack submarine was constructed. Ben was able to get tickets for the three of us to attend the ceremony, which was held in a cavernous hangar where the 377-foot black tubular warship sat on a set of wheeled cradles on the factory floor. She had not yet met the sea under which she would sail. I was surprised to learn that the boat already had a Navy crew, even though it was still under construction. Speeches were made by a number of civilian, elected, and military officials before a giant bottle of champagne was smashed against Colorado's hull, and she was officially given her name. I was struck by one of the remarks made by a senior Navy submariner who referred to the submarine service as on scene, unseen. This was obviously a reference to the stealthy nature of the submarine, but I immediately thought about on scene, unseen in the context of our graduate volunteers who will enlist and leave. Some return for a brief visit after basic training, but most just go. They don't get to visit at homecoming, and they certainly don't get spring break. They will be decidedly on scene somewhere in the world doing a difficult job that most people are simply not cut out to do. They will be unseen by any of us who hold them most dear because the various corners of the globe where they are likely to be sent are very, very far from the lagoon. I urge all of you to keep them in your thoughts and to reach out to them whenever you can, to remind them how important their task is and how valued they are to you personally. It's gestures like that that make the arduousness of military service a bit easier. Do not allow them to feel unseen. On a night when we recognize the exceptional, it is worth noting that it is 1.6% of the class that has stood up, qualified for, and accepted military service before finishing high school. Since the end of the Vietnam War, the armed services have depended upon volunteers to fill their ranks and fulfill their mission in times of peace and war. The task has always fallen to just a few. If that small number doesn't defy the word exceptional, then nothing does. 3 out of the 186 members of the graduating class have volunteered to be our sheepdogs, to guard our flock from the wolves that would do us harm. When the pack shows up, the sheepdogs stand between us and them with their teeth bared, ready to do great violence on our behalf, to keep the flock safe at great personal risk. You might think that that makes them popular, but not always. The sheepdog resembles the wolf in many ways, with its sharp fangs and its own brand of growl. And not everyone can tell the difference between the two, especially in times of calm. The sheepdog reminds everyone that there are wolves in the land, and too many would rather see the sheepdog be on his or her way to remove that reminder. That is until the wolf arrives and the entire flock gathers behind their sheepdog. They will stand on the wall between us and the darkness. They will stand on that wall, and to paraphrase one of Principal Morrison's favorite quotes from the fictional Marine Colonel Nathan Jessup, which he likes to use in the quiet moments in the office. Wait a minute. There are no quiet moments in the office with Mr. Morrison. I don't know why I wrote that. The quote is, "We want them on that wall. We need them on that wall." Tonight it is my honor to extend our sheepdogs the gratitude of the Dennis-Yarmouth community. In well-established DY tradition, no one leaves our halls having volunteered for military service while still in high school during a time of war or peace without hearing all of us say in one voice, "Thank you." So on behalf of the greater DY community, I say it. Thank you. You carry our deep respect, everlasting gratitude, and our boundless pride. We tell you these things tonight because you are not unseen, and because this is DY and this is our tradition. We will present each enlistee with a Blue Star Service banner for their family to proudly fly over their home, a DY Sheepdog Service Challenge coin, and a plaque which reads, "On behalf of a grateful community, with pride and respect on your enlistment to the United States Armed Forces," and a quote from General Dwight D. Eisenhower. What counts is not necessarily the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. I mentioned that 1.6% is a small number, but our 3 sheepdogs will join a legion of American volunteers who came before them and are themselves often unseen. I call on all of the veterans in the room, the sheepdogs that came before and those currently serving, to stand and be seen as I introduce our newest sheepdogs. Please stand. Sergeant Morrison. Enlisted in the United States Navy, Samira Lewis. Enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, Ryan Hajali. Enlisted in the United States Army, Shelby Martins. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sheepdogs of the class of 2018. Woo! Good job. Grab a seat. Sergeant Murphy. I am joined now by Sergeant First Class Thomas Murphy of the Massachusetts Army National Guard, who is my oldest friend in the world. Sergeant Murphy has reached into his own pocket with his earnings from the year and created what we call a warriorship. Can't call it a scholarship, can't call it a toolship. This will go to one of our sheepdogs to defray the cost of travel so their parents can join them at basic training graduation. So in the name of his father, Master Sergeant Robert O. Murphy, this warriorship is awarded to Shelby Martins. Good luck. And if I could borrow the sheepdogs, please. Join me in the hallway. Early deployment to the hallway.